Turn it up, it's the pancake and power slam. Turn it up, it's the pancake and power slam. Turn it up, it's the pancake and power slam show. Turn it up, it's the pancake and power slam. Turn it up, it's the pancake and power slam. Turn it up, it's the pancake and power slam show. Turn it up.
What's up, everybody? 659 episodes of the Pancakes and Power Slam show. I am Dr. Chris Featherstone, and we're going to have some fun tonight, as we always do, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a fun night. It's going to be a fun night. Hey, it's going to be a fun night. Yeah. Come on in, everybody. Share the vid. Share the video. Hey. Share the video. Hey. Share the video. We got Av in the building. We got the People's Wrestling Channel in the building. We got a bunch of people coming in the building. Hey, coming in the building. Yeah. Share the link. Share the link because we're about to have a good time. With the Peak and P shine. Let's go. Hey, yo, we about to flow. about to go. Oh, yeah, there we go. It's been a while since the freestyle flow, yo, but it's okay, cause it's okay, cause it's okay, cause, hey, yeah, episode 659, gooder than gold. Yeah. All right, y'all. We're gonna have a good time as we do every single week. Every single week. Today we're going to talk about escapism and depression, and men wrestling and women wrestling, correlation. As we come on in, y'all. We vibing. Come on in, y'all. We lounging. Come on in, y'all. We vibing. Yeah. Appreciate y'all coming through as always, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 659 of the Pancakes and Power Slam Show. I am Dr. Chris Featherstone. For those who are joining us for the first time, this is a flow, y'all. This is a vibe. This is what we do on PNP, y'all. We lounge. We're a family. We have a great time. For those who want to ask questions to me, have a hashtag of AskDoc. Hashtag AskDoc. And we are going to, and I answer those at the end. So, listen. We're going to talk about depression and pro wrestling fans and depression. All right, by way of escapism, the psychological concept, psychological phenomenon of escapism. Now, escapism is it's defined in many ways, and in one peer-reviewed set of authors that define it as a tendency to escape from real life problems. And so that basically is escapism in a nutshell. So it involves certain activities in which people engage to prevent critical self-evaluation. All right. So that's what we do. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to have a good. We're going to address all these wonderful questions. Hashtag AskDoc. Be sure to do that. So yeah. So for those who don't know, I have a PhD in psychology. All right, forensic psychology specifically. I also have a master's degree in psychology. So I have a lot of psychology experience. I have 2 psychology degrees. I also have a criminal justice behavioral science master's degree. So I know the behavioral sciences when it comes to criminal justice. So I'm familiar with criminology, psychology. I have a theology master's degree as well. I have a lot of degrees. I think I have 6 degrees. And so I like to learn. Basically, all those degrees are just telling you that I like to learn. I'm a forever student. I don't know everything, and I can't please everyone. That's my motto. I live by that, and I continue to learn. And so I enjoy these. There we go. I enjoy these moments on PNP. I enjoy this platform that I'm going to use from now on to incorporate psychology with pro wrestling. And so there's a lot of things I'm going to talk about. I'm talking about violence. I'm going to talk about different suicidal tendencies when it comes to that, cases when it comes to that. We're going to have a lot of fun on PNP. And so be sure to let your friends and family know. It's a very nuanced arena when it comes to professional wrestling, incorporating doctoral level psychology when it comes to so many different topics. There's weeks and weeks and years of topics when it comes to pro wrestling. So last week we talked about why men watch pro wrestling, and this week we're going to talk about the correlation of pro wrestling and depression when it comes to escapism. Now, when it comes now specifically in the area of escapism, it basically it's what it sounds like. You're trying to escape. You're trying to escape from real life situations. You're trying to escape from handling or even confronting real life situations. So what do? You escape. I have a lot of notes, and like I said, I know this. I studied it for years, and I just researched some things and along with my knowledge, and I put them in notes just to be sure that I'm tackling just as much as I possibly can in this small frame of time, because I can expand on I'm a college professor too, so I can expand on any of these subjects in great length, but I definitely want to make it as concise as I possibly can, but I definitely want to be able to let you know. My goal is to give enough information every week for you to come back and just continue to chew on, and share this with other people. This is academic information from the realm of psychology in relation to pro wrestling. So let's get into it. So escapism, basically, like I said, it provides an escape from someone dealing with real life experiences. So oftentimes what they do is they use something that can give them a very high dopamine rush, immediate dopamine rush from a gratifying standpoint. The thing is with dopamine, it can be very healthy. Dopamine can be very healthy for you. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that deals with motivation, pleasure, joy, those types of exciting feels. If you think about it from a very layman's term, psychology for dummies, dopamine is the high stuff that gets you excited. Serotonin is the low stuff that makes you chill and calm and relaxed. And so dopamine is very addictive because it causes that motivation. It causes that immediate rush. It causes those adrenaline and things like that. Norepinephrine does too. And so it's one of those things that people seek it all the time. They seek it all the time. And so what they do is they find realms. People do this all the time. They find different realms and different arenas and different spaces and different things and different things to watch, things to do, things. They find dopamine kicks all the time, except for someone who's dealing with depression. Oftentimes they feel lonely. They feel lifeless oftentimes, and often they don't seek as much. They don't have the drive enough to really seek those gratifying or satisfying moments. Oftentimes they escape in some type of substance or some type of gambling. There's so many studies to show as far as gambling being a form of escape as well. Alcohol being, there's so many studies talk about alcohol. Video games is another one. Although there's also studies about video games that shows that it can be beneficial to one's creative mind. The unfortunate part, similar to wrestling, and we'll tie this, and this is a great tie into wrestling. The problem with that is that, yes, it's good to give you a moment just to step back from reality. You had a long day at work, you had a long week at work. Your relationship isn't going as good as you wanted to. There's so many, your kids are getting on your nerves, so many things. It's cool to step away and to get in those moves, go play a video game, those are good dopamine releases. Working out is one of the best dopamine releases to set you apart. Now, watching sports is also a good dopamine release when it comes to those things, especially live events. There's actually studies that show that watching sports live actually can boost that overall life satisfaction and that excitement when it comes to that. So watching sports is great. I'm a huge college football fan. I say this all the time. I love it. It's fun. It's exciting. The only problem with that is, you got to be sure that it's properly balanced, because what happens is a lot of the pro wrestling community, they immerse themselves into pro wrestling. It's like they eat, sleep, breathe, always in the comment sections. They're looking for that dopamine release. You even see it in live events. You see how, and we'll get back, we'll get into that in another topic as far as another episode. But you see it. You see that dopamine kick. You see that constant dopamine drive. And a lot of times someone who doesn't have a proper balance in their life, just as far as life satisfaction, like I'm content, I'm good, things are good, life is good. Yes, up and downs, but I'm solid. I'm cool. I'm content. You don't seek a lot of dopamine all the time to an unhealthy matter. There's I believe it was a Harvard medicine study that talked about how dopamine, when it's sought unhealthily, it has 10 times the effect as a healthy dose of dopamine. 10 times the effect of a healthy compared to a healthy dose of dopamine. And unfortunately, when it comes to pro wrestling community, you have a lot of people that seek that type of dopamine kick over and over again because there's some dissatisfaction in life. There was a Reddit. Matter of fact, let's bring it up. I'm gonna bring it up. But let's bring some stats before I bring the Reddit up. So psychological distress has been linked to low concept of self. And so basically escapism is a predictor of states such as psychological distress, lower life satisfaction, and symptoms of internet addiction, pornography, etc. When it comes to things like that, when it comes to those, like I said, those quick dopamine kicks, and we'll get into the Coolidge effect too in later episodes when it comes to just someone having a tendency. I don't know why it's doing this. It's crazy because okay, there we go. It's crazy. When I'm in my flow, then it's deciding to jack up. But we got this. We with the PNP fam over here. But let me see. There we go. Hold on, we're gonna get this together. It's crazy because it never does this. Never does this. There we go. Technology, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Technology. You gotta love technology. You gotta love technology. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. You gotta love technology. All right, there we go. All right. Psychological stress, lower life satisfaction, and symptoms of internet addiction. So psychological distress has been linked to a low concept of self. So self-concept deals with one's own, the understanding and knowledge of one's own self, values, traits, memories. And so that in turn causes higher levels of depression. So the escapism being a strong predictor of psychological distress, the psychological distress causing decreased levels of self-concept. And so the lower levels of self-concept causes and raises levels of depression. So escapism, although there's some nuance, kind of new concepts, view it as like, okay, so there's escapism can have some healthy moments, which is I can understand that. Like I said, when it comes to a form of retreating, however, the problem with that is typically from an academic psychological standpoint, escapism as a concept is usually viewed as negative because of the unhealthy ramifications that comes from escaping. Because when you think of escapism, you think of real life situations. I don't want to deal with real life situations, so therefore I'm going to escape from dealing with real life situations. And so what I do is I use a substance or I use something to escape from it. And then what happens is the fade from the escape start to come down. And guess what? I'm right back to address to going face to face with the issue or issues that I'm dealing with, that I'm fleeing from. You know, a divorce, you know, Lord forbid, some a fire. You got fired from your job. You're having relationship problems. You're having self-esteem problems because you gained weight. You found out that you have something, as far as just terminal. There's so many different things that can cause you to escape. Someone who does, and this is studies show, someone who doesn't have a very strong spiritual connection, that can cause moments to escape as well. So there's been it's numerous studies that has shown reasons why people escape. And the problem is when they escape, they usually go to a substance or promiscuity, all different facets of things to try to go away. Pro wrestling is an avenue for people to escape. Why? Because it differs from other types of sports. Now, people can watch games, watch football games, and just because it's NFL or any type of college sports or soccer or anything like that, they're not completely off the table. However, pro wrestling is an entirely different animal when it comes to someone just engrossing themselves, immersing themselves into the culture. It's a culture. And the culture are people who oftentimes experience loneliness. That's the reason why a lot of times the people are lonely, and they go into these forums and they go into these social media chats, and they just go down and just try to emasculate and eviscerate people, because that's just a reflection of how they feel about themselves. And it's an entirely different culture that people step away from. Now, pro wrestling as a sports entertainment medium can be very beneficial if someone just enjoys wrestling. Now, here's the thing. Back in the day, there used to be characters, and we talked about that last week as far as just how men and women, I talked about anima and animus when it comes to the Carl Jung concept, and we talked about the Jungian archetypes last week, and just how the Jungian archetypes can correlate to different characters of wrestling that one can relate to. And so it does create a sense of fantasy. It creates a sense of fiction that distracts you from reality. And you get so immersed in that culture of fiction that you don't know how to step back into real life. You get so far away, you immerse yourself so much in the pro wrestling culture that it becomes very unhealthy. And here's the thing. The funny thing about all this is that you have a lot of people within the community that will defend to the death how, man, I just watch wrestling because I think it's great. But if you think about it, the character component was one of the most awesomest things that really distinguished really cool pro wrestling from any other sport. The character building, the ability to relate to a character. Again, we go back to the Jungian archetypes. The ability to relate to that hero, that villain, the ability to just step away from reality. Doing that in spurts, doing that within a healthy balance of like, okay, I'm going to go back to reality. I'm going to go to my game. I'm going to go to my wrestling. I'm going to go to there just to decompress and just to step away. And then I'm going to go back to reality, and I'm going to handle those things. I'm going to handle those situations. That's fine. That's a healthy balance. However, oftentimes when it comes to pro wrestling fans, they don't do that. They don't do that. They are so submerged into the culture that you see it in the comment sections. You see it in the forums. It's not difficult to tell someone who's a pro wrestling fan oftentimes. Now, there's a bunch of people, like a lot of people here on PNP, most of the people on PNP, there's a lot of people who just want to watch wrestling, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, that's a healthy balance. Hey, I like wrestling. I enjoy the storylines. I enjoy the competitiveness Yep. Step into wrestling, but step out. But the problem is people step into wrestling and they don't step out. And that's when you have an issue when it comes to pro wrestling fans. And the root of that is they want to step in so much they don't want to step out because they want to stay in this fictional world, which escapism through this type of medium, it creates that fictional world for you to say, ooh, life is lifing. I'm going through this, and this. I'm going through a loss of a job, so to speak. I'm going through a loss of a relationship. So therefore, I'm going to step into this pro wrestling world. They're stepping into the matrix, the vortex, so to speak, of pro wrestling. That's when it becomes unhealthy. Like pro wrestling fans, old school pro wrestling fans, they were about, hey, when's the next show? Who's the hero? Who's the villain? We're going to cheer you. We're going to boo you. It was a comic book come to life. It was watching a Batman show. It was watching a Superman episode. It was these dastardly villains are trying to conquer the world. And then you had the hero come in and he had the hero's welcome. He got cheered and he was able to defeat the foe and capture the foe. And everybody went home happy. Now, the build up to that, it wasn't a one-off thing a lot of times. Yeah, you would put some breadcrumbs in there. You would draw people to say, eventually the good guy is going to always win. That's the philosophy. That's the tried and true philosophy in wrestling. The good guy always wins in the end. I credit that to, I believe Booker T said that years ago. And it's true. The good guy always wins in the end. Now, does the bad guy win against some lesser known foes in order to reach that big moment? It's like the final boss. Like, the Rock calls himself the final boss, but it's like playing a video game. It's like the final boss has defeated a few people in his world, and that was kind of not at the level as this big hero, this heralded hero. He's beating a few people along the way, but this hero is about to conquer, and defeat the city, rid the city of all the bad guys. But you've got this final boss at the end. People love to see that concept. Again, going back to Carl Jung, that's the reason why that hero villain dynamic is so big when it comes to collective unconscious and things like that, when it comes to his type of his concept when it comes to the mind. And so even in religion, from a psychological standpoint, even in religion, that concept still remains. From a Christian standpoint, you have the villain of Satan and you have the hero of Jesus conquering the foe. Satan came in and he defeated so many people and so many things. And you had the conquering hero of Jesus coming in, saving the day and taking people with him to stay protected and stay safe. That concept it's timeless. It's absolutely timeless. So going into a pro wrestling bubble and kind of going in there, getting your kick and coming out and addressing real life, it's the same thing as watching a comic book, collecting comics, watching X-Men, watching Batman, watching Superman. That concept is a tried and true concept that people have linked on since the beginning of time. But the problem is with pro wrestling fans is they don't know how to get out of it. They don't know how to get out of it. And they do more than just take it for what it should be. The hero versus villain, the hero gets the conquering win. Boom. And it's done. Next time, and we'll be back next time. But nope, it's this social media, these outlets, these forums, that unfortunately it creates even more opportunities to stay locked into this fantasy world, that it becomes unhealthy. It no longer becomes about seeing the hero conquer the villain. It becomes boom, 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 pop, 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 dopamine kicks, boom, 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 boom. And the problem is someone can be so immersed in that they don't know how to step away from understanding the true meaning of pro wrestling, what it was originally created to be, and what it will continue to be if treated correctly. All right, that was from the top of the dome. Make sure that I got when studies show that escapism can lead to social anxiety and loneliness, which is why pro wrestling gives a person the dopamine rush needed to further escape reality. The fictional nature of pro wrestling. I talked about that. I do want to get into a Reddit real quick of someone talking about him using pro wrestling as a way to reduce or way to get away from escape. All right, so we are going to let's get into it. Let's get into it real quick, and then I'll get into some, and I'll address some things here. Here we go. Let's see. There we go. Boom. There we go. All right. Great questions, by the way. And I'm going to hit them really quickly, and the rest on my Patreon. All right. This was a forum from 6 years ago. Hello, guys. I just wanted to discuss something that might be a unique topic on here. And it's about the case. Let me. Okay. About a case with people that suffer from considerate to severe mental health issues that might also be big wrestling fans also. For instance, I use wrestling to escape from real life problems that I've currently deal with that are unfortunately clouding my thoughts and feelings into a deep depression that really makes things difficult to handle. Difficult to handle on a regular basis, unfortunately. It really sucks because the constant depression and anxiety hits me really hard, and it makes me feel like I'm a terrible person or something. One of the few times I can really calm down and distract myself from these overbearing problems is by simply watching wrestling and by interacting with a bunch of guys on here to be as positive as I can to cheer other people in the sub. Is there anyone who is or has been in a similar situation here? I just want to know how to deal with these type of problems, as I am honestly going through a bad phase of emotions at the moment, and overall everything is a real struggle. And so that alone, that right there is exhibit A of escapism when it comes to professional wrestling. And pro wrestling, praying for this guy. That was 6 years ago. I hope that he's fine now. Prayers to you. I hope that you're good. I hope that you're well. But that is not pro wrestling, and seeking a pro wrestling community is not the way to go when it comes with handling real life problems. And then you had comments of people agreeing. Absolutely, I can relate, someone says. And talking about wrestling helping them go through things. Someone saying, isn't that the whole point? No, it's not the whole point. It's definitely not the whole point. So you have many people who can relate, who basically has amen and has affirmed their view of pro wrestling as a way of escape. And pro wrestling should not be that. Pro wrestling should be entertainment. Hey, you're going. It's a Netflix doc. It's a short stint of playing video games. It's looking at comics. it's a way to step away but go back, go back to the things that are causing you to escape. If you don't do it, and this is therapists coming out now, before we go to the questions, if you don't do it, pro wrestling will never be good enough. It will never be good enough. And that's the reason why so many times you got these storylines, you got all these wrestling matches, and you have people who won. You have such a community who are fickle. They'll like someone who don't like them anymore. That's because pro wrestling oftentimes is escape. You plateau. You plateau. You don't like the alcohol anymore. You don't like the drugs anymore, but you're addicted to it. It's not a form of pleasure anymore, but you're so addicted to the dopamine that you can't get away from it. And we see that so much within pro wrestling fans. And so my my doctor of therapist, psychology professor hats. I'm telling you, for those who are struggling with that, listen, pro wrestling is not a adequate form of escape. Divine intervention is, therapy is, having a strong community that can be there for you during those times of you're going through. But at the end of the day, if you're so immersed in pro wrestling as a culture that you bleed, eat, sweat, sleep pro wrestling as a fan, that's unhealthy. That's absolutely unhealthy. And you need to go back to the thing or things that are causing you to get so immersed and engrossed in the pro wrestling culture. Because as we see, there's so many people that just look like a plumb fool in these comment sessions and forums because they haven't addressed their emotional stability. They're emotionally unstable people, and they desire to share it with a group of people who are also emotionally unstable, because what does that do? That causes them to feel more insecure. So with that said, class is dismissed, and we're going to get into some questions. So without further ado, it is time for the question game. Thank y'all for rocking with me, first of all. A really, really good live audience now, and it stayed the entire time. So thank you for rocking with me. Be sure to hit the like. See, here's the thing. I got like 3 times the amount of views last week because y'all listened. I got like 5 times the number of likes, 4 or 5 times the number of likes. And just like I said, if those likes, those comments, it boosts up the algorithm. And guess what y'all did last week? Y'all liked the video. And guess what that did? That boosted the algorithm. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. So be sure to do the same thing this week. Like the video, comment, share, subscribe, let people know that we have in class every single week here. I hope that this helped. I hope this helped you understand the concept of just pro wrestling fans when it comes to escapism. There's so many more topics. Next week, I'm gonna tease next week's topic on Patreon. So that's what I'm gonna do. But I'll pray that you are blessed by this topic. All right, here we go. Will you be watching The Rock's new movie? I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. I heard it didn't gross very well first week. Would you want to have muscles like The Rock, or is he too big? I don't know, dude. I mean, like, I don't care. I don't care. You continue to talk about The Rock. I think you're proving my point here. What do you think is the main reason AEW's audience and attendance has dwindled? Is because matches are thrown together? Is too much former WWE and not pushing their own guys? TBC. TBC means. Man, the short version of that is lots of wrestling non-left storylines. Again, it goes back to what I just said. What I just said for all this time. I mean, if it's not the hero villain concept, people are going to plateau. Weekly wrestling matches every single week, and it's just match. Guess what happens? You have an audience that's going to they're so in that they use AEW is a step away from reality. Now they're addicted to it. They can't get away from it, but they need the kick to get them away from going back to reality. So they stay in. That's what they do. They stay in, whether they like it or not. And then there's certain people it's like, you know what? I'd rather go back into reality than to watch this. And I've plateaued. My interest is absolutely plateaued. I'm done. Okay, I'm going to face reality again and go back. All right, is it because they dial back on hardcore nonsense? Is because mostly directionless, too many titles? Yeah, I mean, I talked about that. Ron, what's up? What up, Dr. Chris? It's ironic that you've decided to incorporate a psychology PhD with PNP because President-elect Trump has just nominated Mrs. Linda McMahon for Secretary of Education. Yes, he has. Yes, he has. There you go. And it's a very, very ironic. I definitely agree with that. Faux show. What's my catchphrase you say to your children? You said on Wrestle Binge. I used to have my son say, "I'm a man." So, yep. We're gonna watch Moana 2. I'll be watching it probably with my kids. How's my back? Thanks for asking. It's I wish it was better, man. I really do. I wish it was better. Tuesday was super sore. Wednesday morning sore. Wednesday afternoon and evening I felt like a new man. Thursday felt like a new man. Friday, much better. And then Saturday, it started to get real stiff again. I was watching the Tyson fight and I was sitting down for that fight was over 4 hours. I mean, I watched the entire thing. So I was sitting down for over 4 hours and that really got it. It really made it really tough. And now it's stiff again. So it's not like stabbing, unbearable pain. So I'm usually walking at an 8 like daily. Now it's about a 6. So 6 to 7. So slight relief. I'll most likely get another shot in a few months. The shot worked. It was relieved, but it didn't last long, unfortunately. So I got a follow-up appointment coming up a couple weeks. So we shall see where that goes. Thank you for asking. Rollin, 6 degrees. You have a PhD degree and 3 masters or other 2 degrees, bachelor's degrees. If so, which bachelor's degree do you have? Salute to you for excelling academia. Thank you. I have a PhD in psychology. I have a master's degree in psychology. I have a master's degree in criminal justice with the specialization of behavioral sciences. I have a master's degree in theological studies. I have a bachelor's degree in public relations. I have an associate's degree and a social arts degree. I also have a minor in communication for my undergrad. I have a major in PR, minor in communication. So 6 degrees. Your wrestling gimmick would have to be the genius gimmick. Thank you. I appreciate it. Shout out to the Lanny Poffo, the late Lanny Poffo. I've interviewed. I had the pleasure to interview him before he passed away. And actually on PNP. So go to the PNP archives and check that out. Shout out to Lanny Poffo, man. It just hit me that the late Randy Savage's brother wore a cap and gown for his gimmick, while Randy Savage himself used a graduation song for his theme music. Yeah, Pomp and Circumstance. Isn't that an interesting connection between the two? Yeah, absolutely. If you were in charge of Raw for one night, what would you book for the main event? Man, look, again, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Here we go. I don't know. I don't know. Off the top of my head, what would I book for the main events? Again, man, I don't do these knee-jerk bookings because I don't book just for a match. I don't book the scheduled matches. Like, I don't find any pleasure in that, man. I book stories. So if I was booking Raw, I would book like a 10-man tag match with a bunch of different feuds together with a hot crowd. And I would put, and I'm a mistakes guy too. So I would say the winning team are all number one contenders for the world championship. And so you would have a six-person. So if the Gunther's the champion, I would have. So you have 5 baby faces against Gunther. You would have a Raw match determining that, and I would make the world title match an elimination match because it fits the Survivor Series theme. So I would have a Raw match before Survivor Series to determine the number one contender, 10-man, 5 baby faces, 5 heels. And then what I would do is I would have a 10-man tag match. I would have a 10-man tag match. And so that's the main event. So 10-man tag match. Or what I can do is the sole survivors. Whoever is the sole survivor or sole survivors of the match, the 10-man match, would be to go against Gunther for the championship. So what I would do is I would probably have like 3 baby faces last as sole survivors, and I would make it a fatal 4-way. And I would make that an elimination match too at Survivor Series. There you go. Off the top of the dome. Wow, this is very interesting. I use video games to relax, but I always wanted to be a game designer. Nice. That's the way to cash out on that stuff. There you go. Cash out on it. What does it mean when wrestling becomes your life like it is mine? I just spent an entire show explaining that. Speaking of fickle fans on NXT tonight, everyone's behind Andre Chase. 10 seconds after he's losing, they were singing goodbye to him. I didn't even know Andre. Yeah, I mean, fickle fans. Yeah, Andre Chase. I saw on the socials that Chase U was no longer. I think Rich Holland pinned him or something like that. I don't watch episodes of NXT. I just see it all on socials. So I think that's correct. I may be wrong though. Thoughts and prayers to the Mysterio family. Yeah, I saw that there was some bad news when it comes to the thoughts and prayers for sure. Rollin, pro wrestling cartoons and video games were my choice of entertainment and or escapism when I was a child. But when I was a child, I naively believed that pro wrestling was a combat sport. Yeah, interesting. It was my retreat. You know what I mean? It was again, man, what am I escaping from? If you're thinking about escaping, you're I mean, just like a felon, you know what I mean? Like someone who escapes from prison, they shouldn't have left. They weren't supposed to leave. So like, and escaping from prison and escaping from bondage. I mean, yeah, okay. If you're escaping from that, you know what I mean? Like the Lord makes a way of escape to if you're in bondage or if you're in temptation, as scripture would say, yes, there's a way of escape when it comes to that. From that standpoint, But when it comes to escapism, like you're escaping from something, you're escaping from reality. That's where the concept comes from. And so kids, yes, you're escaping ish, but you're more like just kind of retreating into another world. You know what I mean? And kids are full of fantasy and imagination too. So they actually use that as a way of understanding that I can overcome a villain. That's what even watching wrestling as a kid, it taught me that I can conquer the world if I wanted to. Like, and I'm not scared of the bad guy, and that's how I feel now. I do not get intimidated. I don't get scared by people. I don't get intimidated. A bad guy is just I don't. I'm a flow state type of dude. You know, psychologically, I'm in the flow. I'm moving forward. I'm a propel. I'm a momentum type of guy. And the only thing a bad guy does, it's blocking my flow. It's blocking my momentum. It's blocking my progress. And so it makes me want to take it out. And so that's how I think. And so if pro wrestling created that when it comes to characters in pro wrestling, when it comes to characters, pro wrestling and children, now it's just a dopamine kick. It's like Darby Allin. It's not good enough if he does a coffin drop from the top rope to the coffin, but now he has to go and do a coffin drop from the top of the production set. And then he has to do a coffin drop from the top of a ladder onto a sheet of glass. Like, it's insatiable. It's not a given. It's not a given end. It's not a purposed ending of the hero beating the villain. That concept has been so diluted when it comes to wrestling. Kids see that. Kids see the hero beating the villain. That's what they see. My 9-year-old son is a huge wrestling fan. He talks about the good guys. He wants the good guys to win. And that is a timeless time. Like I explained, that is a timeless concept when it comes to the art of pro wrestling. That's the reason why it can be so beneficial. It can be the mindset of I can conquer anything. I can conquer the bad guys. I don't have to be intimidated by the bad guys. The bad guys are bullies and bullies are insecure. It should be that. But unfortunately, it's so much of that doesn't exist anymore that it's sad that it's become so different. And it doesn't have to. It could revert back. I think the Bloodline storyline was good as far as hero and villain. You know, we'll talk. We could talk about nuances of why it worked, but it kind of didn't, because now the hero is just kind of there. And it's been really kind of there for the past 7.5 months. But you know, it still served its purpose as villain running roughshod, ruling, gets conquered by the hero. Zubair, I'm only depressed because wrestling makes me depressed of how sad the state it is that compare the good old days. What can we do to cope, doctor? So you can talk to me on the Patreon. Shout out to Zubair, faithful patron. I got you. I got you. I'll give you a little bit of therapy, Patreon style. So that being said, we are heading over to the Patreon for we're going to have fun over there just like we do every time. Patreon.com/pancakes and power slams. Once again, patreon.com/pancakes and power slams. Y'all, this has been so fun, man. I love nerding out on psychology, and this is what we're going to do. So I really hope that this created just gave you more understanding of when it comes to pro wrestling and its correlation to fandom and depression. Now again, this isn't about all pro wrestling fans are depressed, definitely not, but at the same time, how it can easily be as a result of escapism from reality, because you're lonely and stressed and psychologically distressed and escaping from things that you're dealing with, which causes increased levels of depression. So that is what I talked about today, and I hope that it was beneficial to you. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, let people know that, hey, I'm going to have class every single Tuesday here when it comes to psychology and pro wrestling. Be sure to let the people know, man. This is a fun avenue and fun hub for you to understand the mind of pro wrestling fans, pro wrestling wrestlers, pro wrestling concepts, pro wrestling stories, all of that here. We're going to talk about it from a psychological point of view. And we're headed to the Patreon, ladies and gentlemen. Patreon.com/pancakes and power slams. Has some interesting stuff there. I'm going to talk about what I'm going to talk about next week. And I'm also going to answer questions as far as any inside information. I'm also a pro wrestling insider, mostly WWE insider, but I've got sources in all promotions. And so I report those on my Twitter. You can go there at Chris Prolific. Shinsuke Nakamura, they came back last Friday, and guess who reported that and broke that story that he was going to return? It was me. And so be sure to show me some love there for pro wrestling breaking news. But psychology, pro wrestling, that's my bread and butter, man. That's what lights me up. Breaking news lights me up too, because I love being a journalist. But the psychology thing, man, this is what you're going to get here at the Pancakes Power Slam Show. Go to the Patreon. We'll see you there. Until next week, enjoy your week of wrestling. God bless. And always remember, I do it for you. See you on the Patreon. So long.